What's going on YouTube? Cloverbells here back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be spotlighting Farigiraf for the regulationC format. So this is another one of those interesting Pokemon that, you know, maybe you're not going to see all that often, but has a use on certain kinds of teams, and especially in this kind of format. I think it's a little bit better in this format than it is in something like Regulation B, just because of all the priority moves running around, right? So if you look at Farigiraf's ability, Armor Tail, this is the selling point of Farigiraf as opposed to, you know, the other things it can potentially offer. This is its bread and butter right here, the Armor Tail, where you're protected from priority moves. So just pretty much think of all of the things that have priority that's running around, right? I'll even just list some of them over here. Of course, the Palafin is the first thing that comes to mind with the Jet Punch. Then you have stuff like Dragonite with the Extreme Speed Shenanigans. Then you have the Chinpow with stuff like Sucker Punch, for that matter. And then even like the Arcanines are also running, sometimes, most of them, not all of them, are having like extreme speed. So this is already like 4 of the premier Pokemon that are running priority moves, right? And then if you consider, you know, other Pokemon that also have these priority moves, then, you know, you also deny them from that. But these are the premier 4 at the very least. These are just a couple of examples. So, you know, Farigiraf has that use. And if you think of a lot of those balance teams, like even the back Scalper balance teams where like they have Ice Shard priority stuff, and even the fake out from potential Iron Hands and other fake out users, the Farigiraf is able to at least deter that much. And now they have to start thinking about using their other moves, and that could be a little bit problematic because then they're not going to have any speed control, right? And then if you can, you know, upend them with your own speed control, then you're going to be in a really, really good spot, right? So that's how you have to use this Farigiraf here. You have to pretty much deny the opponent of using their priority moves, force them to rely on whatever low speed that they have, and then they have to use their attacks. But then at the same time, if you can get that speed with something like either Trick Room or Tailwind, then you can just overwhelm them, and Farigiraf functions as like a supportive role in that sense, right? So that's how you have to try and use it. And I feel like the best way to try and use it is maybe not necessarily like hard Trick Room, even though it does get access to it. I feel like a nice balance with either Trick Room and a little bit of like Tailwind Hyper Offense is probably the way to go. And we're going to take a look at some teams from some regionals and some tournaments that have been able to at least be successful with Farigiraf. And then we'll do a little bit of light team building on our own. And this way you walk out here with a squad to try and use the tall draft Pokemon. All right, so let's take a look at some results from these tours and note some of their sets. Okay, so let's go into the European International Championships. And this is one of those day 2 cut teams from Quentin over here. So again, this is pretty much as hard Trick Room as it gets, with the redirection Pokemon over here along with the Hatterene here. Yeah, I like this just because, you know, there's no Armor Rouge, right? I feel like in previous formats with Regulation B, namely, you had to have like either you had to have both the Armor Rouge and the Hatterene, right? And the Hatterene was really good into the dark types, whereas the Armor Rouge was just good against everything else. But now with all the dark types running around, you pretty much have to like drop the Armor Rouge and then just rely on the Hatterene and then just put in another slot in that Armor Rouge play, right? And this is okay. So this is pretty much hard Trick Room. You know, you have redirection with Maushold instead of Indeedee, right? Because the idea with Indeedee with the terrain was to go for expanding force spam, but without Armor Rouge, then what is the point, right? And you get your terrain removed anyway. You know, because there's Chinpows running around with Ice Spinner, same with like other Dragonites also teching in Ice Spinner as well. So if the Indeedee is useless, let's go with the Maushold. So this way we add Friend Guard for the rest of the team, and we'll keep the Hatterene, of course, because then we can apply, you know, Fairy Pressure under Trick Room against those dark types, right? The Ruin Pokemon. So I like this way. Like if I had to do hard Trick Room, this is probably the way to do it. So Quentin got it right here. You have the Torkoal pressure with Eruption. You have the Farigiraf here also applying pressure here with the Life Orb rather than something like a Throat Spray. This is nasty plot, by the way, along with the Maushold here. So this is actually pretty good. Then Super Fang is really good chip damage. And then you just clean up with your physical options, King Gambit and Iron Hands on the same team. Neither of them have an Assault Vest. This one has Goggles, this one has Booster Energy. I like Goggles here, you know, just because Amoongus can be annoying. So this is one way to get around it, I suppose. And of course, Torkoal doesn't really care about Amoongus. You just end it with the Eruption play. But there is Terra Water option on the Amoongus, so you do have to be prepared for that. But you have plenty of options here, right? So Psychic and Dazzling Gleam are ideally the 2 moves you're going to want to have. Then, of course, Trick Room. And then this last move is pretty much up for grabs here. You can technically have like Protect here. You can also have another type of move here, but it really just depends on the user. But in terms of Quentin's team, this is pretty good. This is a hard Trick Room team. Then staying with the EUIC, so this one has a little bit of a mix. So this one has the redirection of the Amoongus, and there's still Armrouge here with the Farigiraf, but that's because the Farigiraf has an interesting set here in that it has beat up rather than the mouse hold going for that. I guess the Amoongus is a little bit more valuable, but this is not Trick Room Armrouge. This is an offensive Armrouge with weakness policy and weak armor. So after beat up, it'll take some damage, and then it'll just go for stuff like Heat Wave, stored power, that kind of stuff. And then the Wide Guard is really good into something like Dazzling Gleam, Dazzling Gleam, Flutter Mane, and Earthquake stuff. And then you just have it also combos well with Baxcalibur. That's actually pretty cool. And then after that, it's just Palafin and Baxcalibur at 9. This is an interesting team. So shout outs to Enosh here for doing relatively well in the EUIC. I believe this was 6-3, so not quite day 2 cut, but still pretty good overall. All right. Then if we go back into the Fort Wayne regionals, we take a look at Wolf Glick's team, and I believe this was a little bit of a team building session with like Aaron Trailer as well, because he was using the same team. But this is the way I would do it, almost like you have like the Trick Room stuff, and then you have the hyper offensive core with like Garchomp, Talonflame stuff. And again, under Trick Room, I do like Farigiraf and Iron Hands. Recall like back in Regulation A when we made a Farigiraf Iron Hands team. That's how I would actually start, right? When we do our team building sessions for this team, we're gonna do the Iron Hands Farigiraf as a starting point, and then we'll just go from there with like a hyper offensive stuff. But like I would almost do the same thing here. Just the only difference is maybe instead of Chien-Pao, which still makes sense, it's probably ideally better, but I would put like some redirection here. I'd probably just put in Amoongus here just so that I can get another redirection mod and something to spore in Trick Room, just to apply that kind of pressure here. But Chien-Pao makes a lot of sense here. I don't hate it. I think it's totally fine, but I definitely would probably just put the Amoongus here. But that's just my personal preference, right? But yeah, so either you're going with like a Trick Room route here with like Hatterene stuff and then Iron Hands. Again, I really like Farigiraf Iron Hands. Or you're doing something like this. I don't know about this one. This one was like very specific for Enosh, or the Wolf Glick way. But then recently there was another tour, the International Challenge. This one was a tournament on Limitless website a couple of days ago. And here's another case of using Farigiraf Iron Hands, but you still have the Flutter Mane King Gambit here, and then Baxcalibur. So Dragon Fairy Steel combination, and then you have the Trick Room mode with Farigiraf Iron Hands, and even the Tinglu. So the Tinglu is actually really good here in the sense that you're reducing special attack damage, and depending on this Farigiraf, the bulk on it, you can actually survive the Chiyu Dark Pulse, right? Because without it, it's actually very hard to live. You would have to almost have a calm nature, or is it careful? I don't remember which one of those C natures, but the special defensive nature to be able to not resist, but at least survive the Tinglu Dark Pulse stuff. So Tinglu makes a little bit of sense. Yes, you do weaken your own Farigiraf, but at the end of the day, it still more or less functions as like a denial of priority moves, right? And if you're going against some of those balanced teams that have at least like 3 Pokemon, sometimes 4 with priority moves, and you shut that down, then you're in a really good spot, because then your Trick Room / Tailwind mode is just able to overwhelm them, and they can't really do much about it, right? So that's how you have to think and play with Farigiraf, okay? Not really so much the damage. The damage is just like, oh well, but it's more or less the toolkit that it provides you with the Armor Tail, and then the support of Trick Room, and then everything else is just like free chip damage. You'll take it. You don't necessarily like it, but it's still welcome, and it can put stuff into range where stuff like Baxcalibur, Flutter Mane, or your Iron Hands can finish things off. All right, so yeah, that's the idea behind Farigiraf. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back into the Showdown Team Builder, and we're going to start with Farigiraf Iron Hands here, and then we'll build that hyper offensive core, and then we'll do the EVs, the items, the rest of the movesets, and also the Terra options. All right, so let's go. Okay, so like I said, we're going to take a couple of notes from Mr. Wolf Glick, the former world champ. We're going to go with Garchomp here, then the Talonflame stuff, and then, of course, the Flutter Mane. This is just your hyper offensive core. You're able to win potential mirrors against other Flutter Manes, because a lot of them are going slower, bulkier, modest right now. So if you can just, have the pressure against them, then you're in a pretty good spot. Then from here, you're just going to have the Amoongus. And this is just how I like to play, a little bit more balanced, right? A little bit of redirection support is pretty good in helping Farigiraf set up this Trick Room Iron Hands can also do that as well with Fake Out plus Trick Room, and then you're in a decent spot from there. Okay, but I do like Amoongus in some teams like this. All right, so also don't forget your normal Psychic typing is actually pretty good into like Shadow Ball stuff. So you can also use that against an opposing Flutter Mane in that sense. All right, so Armor Tail here. So then from here, I kind of just like a pretty standard move set here with like Hyper Voice and Psychic. That is Hyper Beam. I'm gonna change that in a second. Okay, so we will be going with the Throat Spray again. If you like the Life Orb, or if you like the Citrus Berry, or even like Safety Goggles, and or if you just think like Amoongus is annoying for your squad in Trick Room, you could definitely put like Goggles here. Some of these teams also did have Goggles on their Farigiraf. This one was the Life Orb one. Yeah, see, this one was Goggles here. I know Mr. Glake had the Throat Spray, and then from there, what was it, Mr. Ron Oliver, he had the Citrus Berry. So lots of different items you can have here. It really just depends on you, but other than that, you know, you're free to go for more damage or more support. It really just depends on you. But we are going to put the Goggles on the Talonflame, which is why we're not putting it here. And then after this is just literally Protect, just so that you get a little bit better in terms of positioning and pivoting. The Iron Hands here, Assault Vest will be the item of choice, and then you just go for Wild Charge, Drain Punch, and I like Heavy Slam here. This is the tech option against an opposing Flutter Mane. So I like the steel coverage there. Garchomp here, so Earthquake. All right, and Stomping Tantrum, right? Your two ground stab moves. You need a spread move and you need a single target move, because sometimes Earthquake just can't quite pick up in double spreads, just because the damage is reduced, and you really need a little bit more power from a single target move. So there it is. Then this is just Protect, and then your last slot here is just straight up Dragon Claw, a nice solid stab move. You can put the Life Orb here on Garchomp if you want a little bit more damage and you're not really scared of Intimidate. But if you are, then you just need to slap on a Clear Amulet here, and those Arcanines are in a world of trouble. All right, the Talonflame here, a very standard move set with Tailwind, Taunt. You can stop the Amoongus from clicking shenanigan moves, and Will-O-Wisp. You can burn physical attackers like another Garchomp, another Iron Hands, not back scalper, something else, Palafins for that matter. You can deny them of that. So what you can even do against like some Palafins is bait them, have Talonflame and have something else, and then switch into Farigiraf, and this way you can't really click Jet Punch, right? And then you just get off a potential Tailwind, for example, or some other move. Brave Bird here as your priority flying type stab over here. Then the Flutter Mane. So you're free to go booster, you're free to go choice specs. It really depends on you. If you want the damage and you want a little bit of survivability, then you go Protect and you go booster energy with the modest nature, of course. But if you feel like you're struggling a little bit in picking up some KOs against stuff like maybe Mouse Hold, Annihilate, then you can just go for choice specs here and get that damage that you need to go from there. By the way, Garchomp and Flutter Mane are really good against like stuff like Mouse Hold and Annihilate, because if they go with Terra Fire Annihilate to resist the Flutter Mane, that's just free food for Garchomp, because then now you're weak to the Earthquake stuff. I think the solution there is just to go like Terra Water. So this way you're not gonna resist the Moonblast, but at least you're neutral to it. But then in turn that doesn't make you weak to the ground type stuff from the Garchomp. But you do have the Iron Hands that they do go with the Terra Water. So you have a lot of options for a lot of different things depending on what their Terra is. The Amoongus Regenerator here, we'll keep it relatively standard here. I do like Rocky Helmet at the moment. If you like the Recovery Berry, like something like Citrus, you're definitely more than welcome to go for that. Right? Just Amoongus having that berry is really nice. But I like Rocky Helmet at the moment just because you can chip and break Focus Sash, and you can also break Dragonite Multiscale, which I feel is important, especially when you have a Flutter Mane that can't really one-shot it because it has a multi-scale up. So if you can break that, that would be very good. Rage Powder, Spore, Pollen Puff, and I do like Clear Smog here. At least have something for wiping Dondozo stuff. Yes, I understand they can go Terra Steel, but actually they're not really Terra Steel at the moment. A lot of them are Terra Grass, Terra Blast, just because they want to counter Palafin stuff. So Clear Smog actually looks pretty good at the moment. Again, funny how the meta shifts with Dondozo a little bit. But this is it. This is what I would do. And in terms of like Terra options, of course, I would go Terra Fairy here. This is going to resist a lot of the dark damage. Maybe like Throat Chop or Sucker Punch or Roaring Moon Throat Chop for that matter. Where is it? Right here. The Iron Hands. So 2 options here. You can go Terra Grass or Terra Fire. The Grass makes you immune to the Amoongus stuff, and you can get past the redirection stuff, which is important against, like, when you're in Trick Room. Or you can go Terra Fire, so this way you don't get burned by a Will-O-Wisp. I think both are fine. It really just depends on you. We're gonna go Grass for the sake of this video. The Garchomp here. Terra Fire is really good. Again, same idea with the Iron Hands. You don't get burned, and at the same time you're able to resist the Flutter Mane Boom Blast damage and also the Chi-Yu fire damage, so you're able to do relatively well because then you just click Earthquake and they both take a lot of damage. The Talonflame here, I do like the goggles here, and Terra Ghost makes a lot of sense here, especially against potential fake outs if you just don't even bring the Farigiraf. So Terra Ghost is a decent option here in that sense, and also it makes the rock damage neutral, which can come into play against some sand teams. The Flutter Mane here, I do like Terra Water here. I've seen Terra Steel. I believe Mr. Glick was Terra Steel. I like Terra Water just because, again, you're removing the, you're neutralizing the Ghost weakness, and also, for that matter, and also the Steel damage also gets resisted. Technically, Steel can do that too, but I don't want to be weak to fire. All right, at the moment with the Flutter Mane, because then Arcanine just beats me, and Arcanine's way too common. So, but again, if you want Terra Steel on your Flutter Mane, if you feel like you'll get more value out of that as opposed to Terra Water, you can definitely do it. But I do like Terra Water at this moment and at this time. And then this also lets you resist the Palafin damage, right? So that's another point for Terra Water. The Amoongus, same idea. We're going to go Terra Water again, just to be able to neutralize your flying weakness and also resist the fire damage from opposing Chi-Yus and also an Arcanine for that matter. But this is it. This is the oh, I forgot the movesets on Flutter Mane. Right, so it's just Moonblast, Shadow Ball, and then Dazzling Gleam, your spread damage for choice specs. You can remove Protect here because we are choice specs, and I guess you can just put like you already have like Iron Hands for electric pressure. Then I think Power Gem just works out here, right? Because then at least now you can hit something, hit the Arcanine that doesn't rely on ground damage, or hit the flying types that doesn't rely on electric damage. So a little bit more coverage there. Good into back Scalper stuff, because they are ice types. I know you are a fairy type, but there are some cases where maybe you want to click the Power Gem over there. But we have our tech choices. Then I believe we got all the terras here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple of EV spreads here, and then get you guys out of here with this team. All right, so let's take a look. Okay, so starting here with the Farigiraf here. So basically, you don't really need any speed on this thing. You're just trying to be a Trick Room sweeper. So I want to be slow. You can go quiet, but I want to go Modest Nature here, just so that I can get a little bit more damage out of my Farigiraf. And what I decided to do here, I know it's a little bit weak, but I'm going to go just first benchmark here in the special attack stat. Plus 76. Again, that'll increase your stats by 2 points over here. Again, this is what we call an EV bump. And again, if you're watching this video and if you're trying to understand competitive Pokemon, you got to know what EV bumps are. And if you don't know what they are, once again, comment in the video section below. Ask what they are. I will respond. I've been doing it every single video. There's always some person that responds. But every single team building video that we have on the channel, I always explain what the EV bumps are. And it all has to do with this slider mark that I'm going to show you over here. But basically every 80 EVs after the first bump is when the stat will increase by 2 points. So over here, just for the sake of argument and for the video, after 80 EVs from 76, it's going to be at 156, and this is where you'll see the second bump. You see how you go from 163 to 165 here? You skip 164, right? And you wonder why. And then after that, you're going up by 1 again. This is what we call that EV bump, that EV benchmark, okay? But we're going to go only the first one here because I'm going to make this thing fat and bulky. We're going to have a big, fat giraffe on this kind of team. So I decided to go with 220 investment over here for a couple reasons. One, this will also optimize against Tyranitar Sandchip damage. Tyranitar is a little bit around in the meta, right? About 6-7% usage. That's still very good. Not as common as something like Flutter Mane at 70% almost, but still around enough where, I'm still going to respect and follow my HP optimization rules. Then from there, I was really just trying to calculate against Throat Chop, Chien-Pao. And really, it just comes down to this investment where you have 148, and then the rest just gets dumped over here. I put like 1 point in Spadef, but then I just figured, let me get a little bit more attack out of my Farigiraf here, and just ended up with something like this. And I think I just put 1 more point in speed to outspeed other Farigirafs, for example, or other base 60 speed Pokemon, like maybe another Tyranitar that just doesn't have any speed for that matter. But I broke my optimization rule for special attack just because I can get a little bit more out of it. I wasn't really getting too much value out of special defense because the Chiyu was still one-shotting me anyway with Dark Pulse, so I figured, let's just get a little bit more damage with special attack here. But again, the whole point is I am living Throat Chop from that thing, and I'm also living King Gambit, Kowtow Cleave, so those are two important calcs. Now, you might say Throat Chop is not so common on Champ-Out. That's okay. Sucker Punch is, and because Throat Chop does more damage, you're definitely going to be living the Sucker Punch anyway. So if I were to just show you that in the damage calculator, just so that you can see how I made it work. Here's the Throat Chop on the Chien-Pao over here. Again, 84 to 100%, so 6.3% chance to KO. You're in a good spot there. And then if I go to King Gambit over here, and then if I just do something like, oh, that's a different King Gambit. Anyway, I'll just do 252 Adamant, and then you'll be able to see that I do live Kowtow Cleave, King Gambit. All right, that's relaxed. Let's just go Adamant here, Adamant 252. That's level 100. Let's go to level 50 over here. Yeah, see, 81 to 96%. You can even push this to 99 by taking off a little bit more defense. But I decided to do that. So this way I get a little bit more bulk out of it. And again, I'm just trying to survive against like Chien-Pao stuff as well. It's pretty common. So that's the idea with this Farigiraf spread. The Iron Hands here, I'll keep things a little bit more standard. So I like to go Adamant. You can go like pretty much max special defense. That's totally fine. I think it's recommended. You can definitely also go right here to 236 attack, or again, this is the second bump. If you want a little bit more HP into your Iron Hands, you can definitely do that. Or you can just make it a little bit less and go to the second bump here with 156 investment. And then just put like a little bit of speed, something like this, 20 investment just to, you know, for the mirror, because there's other Iron Hands, other King Gambits, other Azumarils, and you want to potentially win that speed tie. Now, in Trick Room, you are going to lose it, but again, you have to play that game a little bit where, like, do I want to outspeed it in Trick Room or outside of it? And then from there, you just have 1 point in the defense, and then the rest just goes into HP like this. All right. Then the Garchomp here. The Garchomp is relatively straightforward. We're just going to go Jolly 252, 252 here. We don't have Life Orb here, so we're not going to optimize our HP. We're just going to, you know, pretty much just build it like this. And that's all we really need out of Garchomp. The Talonflame, same idea. I just need to be fast, and I just need to be bulky in the HP side. So I'm just going to put 1 point in each of the stats, and then after that, I'm just going to put the rest into HP, which is something like this, and that's all I need out of Talonflame. Be bulky, click Tailwind, click the occasional Will-O-Wisp. Maybe you might get a Brave Bird on turn 1 to surprise the opponent, but other than that, Talonflame should go down after like turn 2, if you even live that long. Flutter Mane here, so we're gonna pretty much just show you again a couple speed tiers with Flutter Mane. So some people are doing right now, this with 171. This will outspeed other opposing potential Garchomps and speed creep them. Actually, at the for a while I showed 175 here. This will outspeed Adamant Speed Dondozo because they peak at 174 with the Commander boost. Then you can also go to 181 here for outspeeding potential Mousehold. That's also ideal, but I'm just going to go ahead and just do this and just outspeed all of those Flutter Manes that are modest, bulky, and we have Tailwind anyway, so we'll also be able to outspeed the timid ones regardless. Then we're going to go 116 investment here, and you notice, again, this is another benchmark here, another bump, but because they're both the same with speed and special attack, you are modest nature, so you are going to get a +1 boost if there is Sun out on the field. I know we have specs instead of boost energy, but again, the calc is more or less the same. Then from there, I'm just going to put the rest into HP like this. And this is what lets you survive the Palafin Jet Punch. All right, non-Terra. The Amoongus, I do like Relax Nature. We do have Trick Room on this team, so you might as well just go Relax with the negative speed nature. No IV investment. 219 for a couple reasons. It puts you out of final Gambit range from an Annihilate, and this also optimizes against Regenerator, where you get a perfect 73 HP recovery when you do switch it out, because this is 1/3 of 219, which comes out to 73. If you have 218 or 220 or 221, you're gonna get a decimal. It'll round it down. You're wasting EVs. You might as well just go with 219. Then you go here again. Here's the first benchmark here, 108, 110. Right, here's the first bump. Then you go to the second one, another 80 EVs, and here it is, 119 to 121. You skip 120, and then the rest just goes into special defense like this. Again, very general spreads here. Really, the only true damage calc I was doing was the Farigiraf, but other than that, everything else, I just focused on speed tiers, focused on my attack stat, and then just put leftovers into bulk. And the Iron Hands, again, you will live the Choice Specs Flutter Mane Moonblast. I do want to say that, so if you're ever scared of that, you can definitely go and just give that a go. But this is the idea. Again, you have a hyper offensive core with Garchomp, Talonflame, and Flutter Mane, and then you have the Trick Room stuff with Farigiraf, Iron Hands, and the redirection support from the Amoongus. So if you want to try a Farigiraf squad, that you can definitely give this one a go, and let me know how you do with it. And if you are interested in building your own team like this, where fleshing out all the EVs, and you need a little bit of help, if you're trying to go to a regional, if you're trying to enter an online tournament, or just need something for ladder play, we have coaching on the channel. It's a team building session in terms of coaching, right? It's a tier 3 sub. So once you click the video description, or if you look in the comments section, we have a link where you can join the channel with the tier 3 sub, and then you can sign up for coaching. And once you do, you're able to message me on Discord. And then from there, we sit down in a one-on-one Discord call, and we hash out and build the team that you need to get your squad that you need for that upcoming online tournament. All right, so that's going to do it for now, folks. We'll be back with another one in the next one. Peace out, and have a good one.